My name is Luce Fredette. I'm 31, and 3 weeks ago my life didn't just fall apart. It collapsed in public. I'm still trying to understand how something that looked like a fairy tale, mountain views, white roses, a string quartet, turned into the most humiliating night of my adult life. People keep telling me, at least you found out before the wedding. Like that's supposed to feel like comfort when your heart is still on the floor. Quick background. I'm a commercial real estate broker in Denver. I started at 22, making $35K and grinding 70-hour weeks while my friends were already pulling tech money. I didn't have connections, so I became the kind of person who didn't need them. Early mornings, late nights, weekend calls, the kind of work that makes you successful and lonely and proud all at once. Now I'm a senior broker clearing around $340,000 a year in commissions. People hear that number and assume I have an easy life. What I actually have is pressure that never clocks out. Then there was Ethan Hayes. He's 28, an event planner, warm, social, the kind of man who turns awkward silence into laughter, like it's a magic trick. We met at a conference he was coordinating. I was in the corner studying floor plans like a literal stereotype, and he walked up and said, "You look like you're calculating the square footage of the bar." I told him I was. He laughed and said, "Okay, coffee, before you start analyzing the exit signs." That coffee turned into 6 hours at an Italian restaurant until they politely kicked us out. I remember driving home with my cheeks hurting from smiling, thinking, is this what it feels like when someone makes the world lighter? For 3 years, it was effortless. At least it looked that way. We traveled, Cabo, Italy, Thailand, because Ethan planned trips like breathing. I paid more because I made more. We moved in together, downtown apartment with mountain views, $3,200 a month. I paid $2,400. He paid $800. It felt fair. It felt like building something. My friends loved him. His friends loved me. Our families blended so well, my mom cried when I told her I was going to propose. And looking back, God, I hate that phrase. I can see the cracks. Ethan got weird when couples around us got engaged. He'd smile and clap in public, then go quiet afterward. If I mentioned the future, someday when we have kids, he'd laugh and say, "Let's focus on right now." And then there was Danielle, his college ex-girlfriend. Ethan insisted they were just friends, but I'd only hear about their lunches after they happened. "Oh, I ran into Danielle today. We grabbed tacos." Always after, never before. Still, I proposed anyway, because Ethan had always said he wanted something romantic, public, surrounded by friends and family. He talked about it like it was a dream he carried around. And I'm not the kind of woman who half commits. So I planned the perfect proposal the way I plan deals. Organized, precise, almost obsessive. Rooftop restaurant with mountain views, $2,500. Hidden photographer, $800. String quartet, $600. White roses everywhere, $450. And the ring, platinum band, 2-carat cushion-cut diamond, the exact style he'd shown me months earlier, $18,000. Over $22,000 total. I even sized it by sneaking one of his rings while he showered, like I was running a diamond heist. That night, I told him we had a work dinner. When the elevator opened to the rooftop and he saw everyone waiting, his parents, my parents, friends holding up phones like this was a movie premiere, his reaction looked perfect. Hands to mouth, eyes wide, breath caught. The quartet played Can't Help Falling in Love, his favorite Elvis song. I guided him into a circle of rose petals and candles, city lights behind us sparkling like they were part of the set. I gave the speech I'd practiced 100 times, how he softened my edges, how he made my life brighter, how he was my best friend. People were crying, recording, smiling so hard it looked painful. Then I opened the ring box. "Ethan Hayes," I said, voice shaking, "will you marry me?" And this is the detail my brain refuses to forget. He hesitated. 2 seconds, maybe less, but it was there. His eyes flicked to the crowd, to the cameras, back to me. Then he smiled like he'd flipped a switch. Yes, yes, of course. Everyone erupted. Cheers, applause. Someone screamed. It was perfect. His Instagram story that night had like 30 slides. The professional photos went viral. 40,000 likes. Hundreds of comments calling us relationship goals. We dove into wedding planning immediately. 8-month timeline. June ceremony. Fancy country club reception. Budget, $80,000. I put down $15,000 in deposits from my savings. And then things started to rot quietly. Ethan began taking long phone calls with his best friend Kristen that would end the second I walked in. Kristen was newly divorced and had that bitter, theatrical energy, always the victim, always warning people about love like it was a scam. She'd make comments like, "Marriage is a contract that benefits whoever has more money," while sitting at my dinner table. My friend Tyler told me flat out, "Kristen is poison. She's going to tank your relationship." 6 weeks after the proposal, Ethan started asking questions that made my skin prickle. What happens to your commission deals if we get divorced? How does property division work in Colorado? Would I be entitled to half of what you make during the marriage? When I asked why he was talking about divorce before we even had invitations, he laughed. "I'm just curious. Kristen told me what happened to her. I'm being smart." Red flags everywhere. I ignored them because I loved him. The intimacy died. Sex went from 3 or 4 times a week to once every 2, and even then it felt scheduled. He'd grab his phone right after, like affection was a chore to complete before the real night started. No greeting kisses, no leaning into me on the couch, just Ethan staring at his laptop, half nodding when I spoke. I tried to talk. He blamed wedding stress, work stress, tiredness, anything except the truth. I suggested a weekend trip. Just us. He said he was too busy. I suggested a couples massage. He said it was a waste of money. I suggested dinner. He said he wasn't in the mood. But he always had time for Kristen. They went out twice a week. He'd come home late, sometimes past midnight, saying they lost track of time. Once I smelled cigarette smoke on him. Ethan doesn't smoke. He said Kristen had started smoking after her divorce and he couldn't avoid it. The breaking point came on a Friday night, 3 months after the proposal. I was working late on a $6 million deal. My boss was on my back. The client was impossible. I hadn't eaten since lunch. I got home around 11 p.m., exhausted. Ethan was on the couch with a bottle of wine, 3/4 gone, scrolling his phone with tears on his cheeks. The TV was on, but he wasn't watching it. "Hey, babe," I said, dropping my bag. "Sorry I'm late. The Jefferson deal is finally moving." He barely looked up. My stomach tightened. "You okay? You've been crying." "Fine." I sat beside him. Sweatpants, one of my old college t-shirts, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, unusual for him, even at home. "You sure?" I asked quietly. "You seem off." He set his phone down and turned to me, eyes red and puffy. "Luce," he whispered, "I need to tell you something." My stomach dropped. In my experience, nothing good follows that sentence. "What's wrong?" I asked. He took a deep breath, then another, like he was trying to build courage from thin air. "I've been thinking about us, about the engagement, about everything, and I've been talking to Kristen." "Of course," I muttered before I could stop myself. "Don't," he snapped, then softened. "She's just helping me figure things out." "Figure what out?" My voice sharpened. "Whether you want to marry me? That seems like something you should have figured out before saying yes." He started crying harder. "The proposal was beautiful. You did everything right. You made it perfect. Exactly what I said I wanted." My heart was pounding. "Okay. But I need to be honest with you." He wouldn't look at me. He kept peeling the label on the wine bottle like he could strip away the moment. "The reason I said yes," his voice cracked. The TV's cooking show host chirped in the background like a cruel joke. "The reason you said yes was what?" I prompted, barely breathing. He swallowed, eyes shining, and whispered the sentence that split my life in half. "I only said yes because everyone was watching." I stared at him. "What?" I breathed, like the word might undo reality. "All those people," he continued, voice shaking. "The cameras, the photographer, our parents, everyone expecting it. I felt trapped. So I said yes because I didn't know what else to do." It hit me like a punch. "You've been wearing my ring for 3 months," I said, voice trembling. "We've been planning a wedding. I paid $15,000 in deposits, and you're telling me you never actually wanted to marry me?" "It's not that," he insisted. I don't know if I'm ready. I didn't realize until after. I thought the feelings would come, but they haven't." 3 months, I whispered. 3 months, Ethan," he sobbed. "I know." "You could have told me privately," I said, standing up because if I didn't move, I'd break. "You let me plan a whole future on something you didn't mean." "Luce, please," he pleaded. "We can work through it. Maybe counseling." "Counseling for what?" I snapped, tears burning. "You don't want to marry me. You said yes out of obligation. There's nothing to work through." I grabbed my keys with hands that didn't feel like mine. "I need to leave before I say something I'll regret." "Wait!" he cried. But I was already out the door, walking into the night like someone who'd just realized she'd been loving a performance. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on Tyler's couch staring at the ceiling fan, watching it spin like my thoughts. Fast, relentless, impossible to shut off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan's face on that rooftop. The smile, the hesitation, the performance. By morning, my phone had become a weapon. 15 texts from Ethan. They came in waves. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. You have to understand how overwhelming it was. Please come home so we can talk like adults. The audacity of that last one almost made me laugh. I ignored them and went to the gym instead. It's always been my pressure valve, the one place where my brain quiets because my body is screaming louder. I put the treadmill on an aggressive incline and ran like I was trying to outrun the last 3 months of my life. Halfway through, my phone buzzed. Diane, Ethan's mom. I stared at the screen longer than necessary. Diane had always been kind to me, warm, proud. She treated me like family before I ever earned the title. Ignoring her felt wrong. So I answered. Luce, honey, she said, her voice tight with worry. What's going on? Ethan called me this morning in tears. He said you walked out last night. I slowed the treadmill, heart pounding for a different reason now. I told her the truth. Not dramatically, not angrily, just plainly. The proposal, the 3 months, the confession, the sentence that wouldn't stop echoing in my head. I only said yes because everyone was watching. There was a long pause on the other end. So he told you, Diane said quietly. Yes, I replied. Those were his exact words. Her breath hitched. Oh my God, Luce, I had no idea. He seemed so excited. He showed everyone the ring. He wouldn't stop talking about the wedding. I know, I said softly. That's why this hurts. Another silence, heavier this time. Whatever you decide, Diane finally said, her voice steady but shaken. You didn't deserve that. Keeping something like that from you for 3 months, that's not okay. I thanked her and hung up feeling something unexpected. Validated. When I got back to Tyler's place, he was sitting at the kitchen counter with his laptop open, jaw clenched. You need to see this, he said. He turned the screen toward me. Ethan's Instagram story. Slide after slide of beige text on soft backgrounds. Sometimes relationships are complicated. Growth means being honest with yourself. Choosing your truth isn't selfish. I felt my stomach twist. The comments were worse. Proud of you for being brave. You deserve happiness. Sometimes love isn't enough. None of them knew the real story. He's controlling the narrative, Tyler said, getting ahead of it. Something in my chest snapped. 3 months. 3 months of lies. 3 months of deposits. 3 months of wearing my ring like it meant something. And now he wanted to be the misunderstood hero. I sat down slowly and took my phone out. Did I tell you I recorded our conversation last night? I asked. Tyler's eyes widened. You what? I started recording important conversations years ago, I said, after my uncle got destroyed in his divorce. His ex claimed he said things he never did. Cost him his house, his savings, everything. So, youth. I recorded the whole thing, I said. Every word. Tyler leaned back in his chair. Okay, that's big. What would you do? I asked. He didn't answer right away. You're asking if you should post it, he finally said. I nodded. He sighed. That's nuclear, Luce. So was saying yes to a proposal you didn't mean, I shot back. Silence stretched between us. He made our engagement public, I continued, voice shaking. He turned it into content. He invited the world in, and now he's trying to rewrite history like I was just collateral damage. Tyler looked at me for a long moment. If you do this, there's no going back. I know, I said. But, he added carefully, if he gets to tell his version, you deserve to tell the truth. That was all the permission I needed. I spent hours editing the audio. I cut out anything truly private, details about intimacy, about his family, anything that didn't matter. I left one thing intact. The sentence. I only said yes because everyone was watching. Then I wrote the post. My hands shook as I typed, but my words were steady. 3 months ago, I proposed to my partner in what I thought was the happiest moment of our lives. I spent months planning it and thousands of dollars making it perfect. He said yes in front of our families and friends, and we began planning our wedding. Last night, he told me he only said yes because everyone was watching. He felt pressured by the public proposal and didn't know how to say no. I'm heartbroken, not just because he doesn't want to marry me, but because he kept that truth from me for 3 months. I'm posting this because our engagement was made public. The truth deserves to be public too. I attached the clip. I hit post. Then I turned my phone off. The next morning, Tyler shook me awake. Luce, he said urgently, you need to see this. I turned my phone back on. 3-7 notifications. The post had exploded. Shares, comments, messages from strangers, hashtags, screenshots spreading across platforms I didn't even use. People were furious, for me. 3 months of lying is unforgivable. She dodged a bullet. This is why public proposals are dangerous. But he still should have told her immediately. There were defenders too. Posting private conversations is toxic. Public shaming isn't justice. She should have handled this privately. I barely noticed them. What I noticed was the silence from Ethan. Until there wasn't. He showed up at Tyler's apartment that afternoon. I heard his voice before I saw him, hoarse, desperate. Luce, please. He looked wrecked. Puffy eyes, hoodie 2 sizes too big, hair shoved into a messy ponytail. No charm left, no performance. What you did, he said, voice breaking. Do you have any idea what it's done to me? I crossed my arms. Like what you did to me. My company is getting flooded with messages, he snapped. People are calling me a liar. I'm getting threats. And I lost my fiancé to a lie, I said calmly. We're even. You didn't have to post it, he cried. You destroyed my reputation. You made it public, I replied. I just finished the story. He broke down then, sobbing in a way that might have worked 3 months ago. Please, he begged, take it down. We can work through this. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. I looked at him and felt something surprising. Nothing. No, I said. The post stays. 2 hours later, his lawyer emailed me a cease and desist letter. My lawyer laughed. One-party consent, she said. Truth isn't defamation. He doesn't have a case. The letter went nowhere, but the fallout didn't. And that was when I realized this wasn't just about Ethan anymore. It was about consequences. And the internet had already chosen a side. The internet moved on faster than my life did. Within days, something else was trending. A celebrity scandal, a political meltdown, another public breakup. That's how it works. People consume your pain, argue about it, then swipe away. But while the noise faded, the consequences stayed very real. Ethan and I still had to untangle a shared life. Our lease wasn't up for another 6 months. Both our names were on it. The apartment that once felt like a symbol of everything we were building now felt like a trap filled with ghosts. I couldn't breathe there. I met the landlord in person and explained what happened. No drama, just facts. To my surprise, he listened, nodded, and said, I appreciate you handling this like an adult. I bought Ethan out of his half of the lease. It cost me $10,000 to buy peace. Ethan moved back in with his parents. I stayed with Tyler for a while, then found a short-term place near work. Every box I unpacked felt like proof that something permanent had died. The wedding vendors were worse. The venue deposit, non-refundable. But when I explained the situation and showed them the post, they offered to roll it over into a future event or a corporate function. A small mercy. The rest weren't so generous. The photographer kept $3,000. The band kept $2,000. The florist kept $2,000. $15,000 gone. Just like that. The ring was the only thing that didn't feel cursed. I took it back to the jeweler, explained the broken engagement, and showed proof. They offered store credit, $18,000. I didn't hesitate. I bought my mother a diamond necklace she'd never buy for herself, a bracelet for my sister, a vintage watch my dad had admired for years, but always said was too much. At least that money went to people who loved me without conditions. Friends split into camps. Most stood by me. They'd seen how much effort I'd put into the proposal, how excited I'd been, how much I'd invested, emotionally and financially. They were disgusted by what Ethan did. But some, mostly from Ethan's circle, said I went too far. One of his coworkers texted me a novel about how posting the recording was vindictive and public humiliation. I replied once, he humiliated himself. I showed the truth. We never spoke again. Then Kristen tried to save the wreckage. She posted a long thread accusing me of being manipulative, claiming the public proposal trapped Ethan and that I deliberately pressured him into saying yes. She painted herself as the brave friend protecting a vulnerable man. It almost worked, until people who were actually there spoke up. Videos from the proposal surfaced. Ethan laughing, crying, hugging people, showing off the ring. One of his cousins posted, "Nobody forced him." He looked thrilled. Then came a message I didn't expect. From Diane? Luce, she wrote, "What my son did was wrong. I'm ashamed of how he handled this. You deserved honesty, and you didn't get it. I'm sorry our family was part of hurting you. You'll always be welcome in our home." I cried reading that, not because I wanted her comfort, but because it meant I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't exaggerating. I was just honest. A month later, the DMs slowed, but one stuck with me. A woman wrote, "My fiancé told me he wasn't sure 3 days before our wedding. We'd already spent $60,000. Your post gave me the courage to call it off instead of hoping things would change." I stared at that message for a long time. If my disaster saved even one person, maybe it mattered. Ethan disappeared from social media, deactivated Instagram, deleted Twitter. His event planning company let him go, not officially because of the post, but because clients didn't want the attention. Corporate contracts don't survive public messes. Last I heard, he was bartending downtown and going to therapy twice a week. Part of me felt bad, and part of me remembered 3 months of lying. Both feelings existed at once. Life went on. Work stabilized. I stopped checking comments. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. 3 months after everything exploded, I ran into Ethan again. At a mutual friend's birthday party. On a rooftop. Under the same Denver skyline I once thought meant forever. He looked smaller, quieter, older. He approached me near the bar, hands shoved in his pockets. "Hey," he said, "I'm sorry for everything. You deserve better." I nodded. I did. "I'm in therapy," he added, trying to figure out why I said yes when I wasn't sure. "I hope it helps," I said, and meant it. There was nothing left to say. As he walked away, I realized something strange. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just quiet. That's when I knew I was free. I didn't expect closure to feel so empty, not hollow in a painful way, just quiet, like a room after everyone leaves and the echo finally stops bouncing off the walls. After that rooftop party, I walked home alone instead of calling a ride. The Denver air was cool, the kind that clears your head whether you want it to or not. I passed restaurants full of people laughing, couples leaning into each other, strangers living lives that had nothing to do with mine. And for the first time since the proposal, I didn't feel jealous. I felt detached. Work became my anchor again. Not as an escape, but as proof that something in my life was still solid. Deals closed. Clients trusted me. My reputation stayed intact. If anything, people treated me with more respect. Not sympathy, respect. The story faded into background noise. Occasionally, someone would recognize me. "You're the woman from that proposal thing, right?" But it lost its sting. I stopped correcting the details. People believe what they want anyway. Ethan never reached out again. Through mutual friends, I heard pieces. Therapy was hard. Kristen had slowly disappeared from his life once she stopped being the center of the drama. Funny how people like that vanish when there's nothing left to burn. He was still bartending, still figuring things out. I didn't check his social media. I didn't need to. One night, months later, I was sitting alone in my new apartment, smaller, quieter, mine, when I realized something unsettling. I couldn't remember the sound of Ethan's laugh. Not clearly. It wasn't sharp or painful. It was just gone, like a file deleted without ceremony. That's when it hit me. I hadn't lost love the night I walked out. I'd lost an illusion. What hurt wasn't the breakup. It was discovering I'd been building a future with someone who was never fully there. Someone who chose comfort over courage, applause over honesty. And I'd survived that. People love asking me if I regret posting the recording. If I'd do it again. I always pause before answering, not because I'm unsure, but because the truth deserves weight. "No," I say eventually. I regret that he felt trapped. I regret that I loved someone who didn't know how to be honest, but I don't regret telling the truth, because silence would have cost me more. It would have cost me years. I learned something brutal and valuable. Hesitation isn't harmless. It's a warning. And when someone says yes without certainty, you're the one paying for their fear. I don't hate Ethan. I don't wish him harm. I just don't carry him anymore. These days, when people talk about public proposals, I don't flinch. I don't lecture. I just smile and think, make sure the answer isn't for the audience. As for me, next time I commit, it won't be to a performance. It'll be to someone who chooses me when no one is watching. And that feels like the only kind of yes worth hearing.